Brian Dorner, case number 24-CR495. Defendant's present, represented by Defense Counsel Vanessa Clapp and William Watson. The defendant has pled guilty to aggravated murder, unclassified felony. We are here today for the sentencing in the matter.
Thank you. Before we proceed with the sentencing, I am going to advise Mr. Dorner of what his responsibilities will be to enroll as a violent offender if at any point he is released from any incarceration. The law requires me to do that since he has pled guilty to a qualifying violent offender offense. Mr. Watson, any reason not to go forward with sentencing at this time?
No, Your Honor.
Is there anything you would like to say at this point on behalf of your client?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. My words may ring hollow for many, but Mr. Dorner is extremely remorseful for his actions. The court's going to hear this directly from Mr. Dorner momentarily, but I would like to take a moment to shed some light on him as a person and on what happened on April 12th. Mr. Dorner is a 53-year-old man with no prior acts of violence against anyone. He has some medical issues. He had a heart attack and a stent inserted back in 2013. This led to the discovery of an aneurysm, and within 3 months of that, he had to have surgery to correct that. Mr. Dorner is also OCD, and he suffers from depression. Currently, while incarcerated, he's receiving medication for his depression. Now, what happened on April 12th, Your Honor, is completely out of character for Mr. Dorner, even with the depression issues he suffers from. Never in a million years did Mr. Dorner think he'd be capable of doing such a heinous act against somebody, especially against somebody that he loves so dearly. Mr. Dorner met the victim, Ms. Debbie Moore, back in 2021 at a campground. They both shared a hobby of camping, and they soon began dating thereafter. During the last 9 months of their relationship, they lived together at Debbie's residence here in Concord. As with most relationships, Your Honor, they had their ups and downs, they had their arguments. Mainly, those stemmed from jealousy that each other had with regards to their respective past relationships. But Mr. Dorner loved Debbie very much. One of the other issues that caused arguments between them was the amount of time that Mr. Dorner spent taking care of his 2 children. During his marriage to his ex-wife, and even after their divorce, Mr. Dorner was the primary caregiver for his 2 children, who are now, they're still minors, but they're now teenagers, with regards to taking them to their various school activities, sports, things like that. And this took time away from his relationship with the victim. As such, they argued, but they always made up, and nothing ever rose to the level that it did on April 12th. They had been planning a trip together to Florida for quite some time, and on the morning of April 12th, Mr. Dorner was especially depressed because for the past couple of weeks they have been arguing more than they normally did. And that morning, they were having breakfast together when Debbie told Mr. Dorner that she had had enough, that she didn't want to deal with this anymore, and that she didn't want him to go on the trip to Florida. Now, Mr. Dorner didn't take this necessarily as a complete breakup, but he did snap when he heard this. And then he committed this horrific act. Mr. Dorner has stated that if there's any way he could take back what he did, he would do it. He simply cannot believe what he did. He paced around the house after this happened, Your Honor, for a couple of hours, and he decided that he was going to end his own life. He ended up texting his 2 children. He told them that he loved them very much. With regards to his son, he informed his son of some property that he had that he wanted him to have. And then Mr. Dorner proceeded to stab himself. He stabbed himself in the neck, in the arms, he slit his wrists, and then he crawled out into the garage where he intended to die. His children were quite alarmed at the text they just received from their dad, so they went ahead and informed their mother, his ex-wife, Carol Lee. She's a registered nurse, but she immediately went over to Debbie's house where she discovered Mr. Dorner in the garage, and Mr. Dorner then proceeded to tell his ex-wife what he had done. She ended up calling 911. I know that nothing, Your Honor, no words, no punishment can ever bring back Ms. Moore to her children and her family. Mr. Dorner has accepted responsibility for his actions that day, and he is extremely remorseful for what he has done. Mr. Dorner has never exhibited any type of violent behavior in the past, and this was completely out of character for him. This court has a lot of discretion as to what it can do at sentencing this morning. We are asking this court to consider Mr. Dorner's conduct through his life too, not just on what happened on April 12th. We are asking this court to consider Mr. Dorner's age and his health conditions. We are asking this court to consider the fact that Mr. Dorner has taken full responsibility for his actions and that he is extremely remorseful. With regards to sentencing, Your Honor, we are asking this court to consider a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 20 years. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Dorner, you have the right to address this court before your sentence. You can say anything you want. Is there anything you want to say at this time?
Yes, and I'm extremely...
Keep your voice up, please.
I'm sorry. And I'm extremely, from the bottom of my heart, sorry for what I've done. And taken a beautiful person's life away from her family and friends. I wish that day never happened. It shouldn't have. Really, really, really sorry for what I've done. And I feel horrible. And I'm sorry for all family members and friends for all the pain and suffering that I've caused in the loss of Debbie. I'm extremely sorry from the bottom of my heart for taking and ending her life. I'm sorry to her whole family. 3 daughters, Courtney, Caitlin, and Paige. Sorry from the bottom of my heart taking your mom away from you. Sorry to her father, Don, for taking your daughter's life away from you. And all family relatives, I'm sorry from the bottom of my heart taking her away from you. Sorry to the Moore and McNeil family.
Mr. Watson, anything else on behalf of the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Gretzky, on behalf of the state of Ohio?
Thank you, Your Honor. Family members of the victim would like to make statements to the court. Would you like them to come forward, or can they make statements from where they
You
are?
just hear from where they are. Whoever's going to speak, you can just stand right where it is that you're seated. Keep your voice up loud enough so we can all hear you, please.
On April 12th, 2024, my mother, Deborah Moore, was the senseless murder victim of Brian K. Foreigner's possessive cruelty. That day, I had told my roommate, I guess Mom hasn't responded to anyone in a few hours. She was probably murdered or something. That was the dark joke that I made whenever someone hadn't responded to me in a while. That was the joke that I made as I sat at the end of my bed in Los Angeles, California, waiting for news on what was going on with my mother. I was helpless, unable to go check on her myself. I figured she's probably napping and her phone died, or maybe she's out at the camper and is in an area with no service. Oh, maybe everyone's worried for no reason. But Paige is going to check up on her to make sure. Whatever's going on, we'll fix it. We always do. I don't make that joke anymore. It's not as humorous as it used to. Every night when I go to bed, my memories from that evening become a distorted record spinning on a turntable, the needle endlessly scratching the center. All time is lost. My current reality fades from recognition. I see the moment when I answered my aunt's call. I hear her voice telling me, "She's dead, honey. I'm so sorry, she's dead." I feel a pause in my throat. My first thought, Patty's joking. The second, she's not joking. She wouldn't joke like this. I hear me yell to her, "No, Patty, no, please no. No, don't tell me that. Don't say that. Please no." I picture blood. I picture my little sister sobbing on the ground. I picture my mother's lifeless body. How cold and alone she must be, unable to have died at an old age within the warmth and love of her children. How badly I wanted to hug my mother, regardless of the state she was in, because no matter what she looked like or what the scene was, she was still my mother. What monster would do this to her? The psychological impact of Brian K. Dorner, hereby referred to as the monster, wrapping his arm around my mother's throat goes beyond the hours I've lost, sitting in random places, my brain unable to unlatch from the order of the events in which her death occurred. The feeling of this loss is unbearable. It manifests as sadness, rage, and an emptiness, a terrible emptiness. A realization that I am stuck in a timeline that refuses to move any direction but onward, with an emptiness that does not tug at my heartstrings. No, instead it claws out my liver and pancreas and gallbladder. It gnaws through every organ of my stomach and chest as a mouse would a cable, plaguing every night of sleep. No matter how much I try to scrape out every drop of pain, I am left wishing I could scream and vomit to force the feeling to abandon me. This monster didn't just kill my mother. He strangled my #1 fan, who supported me through thick and thin. He suffocated my best friend, who I called every day on my way to work. Now, only pictures of her will sit at our Thanksgiving table, a future wedding, at the birth of her future grandchildren. Pictures, old memories, and what-ifs will fill her seat in hope that her love lingers. This waste of space, whose name fills my mouth with filth and disgust, had once demanded that we accept him. His narcissism demanded that we respect him and show him the attention he thought he deserved. A red flag to his true character that I mistakenly missed. I, the only child of Deborah Ann's, who accepted him into her life, must live with this regret. I had thought he's tolerable because he made her happy. I thought he was going to take care of her. I trusted him to respect her and to help provide my mother with the life that she deserved. This monster didn't deserve her. His way of taking care of my mother and thanking me for accepting him into her life was to murder her. Now I feel the legs of roaches crawling over my skin when I recall the times that he hugged me and gave me a side kiss on the cheek, pretending as if I were the good kid for accepting him. How uncomfortable those times were, but how I dealt with this discomfort all to make my mother happy. Now I wish I hadn't made her happy with this. Now I wish that I was there with her on April 12th, attending the Easter egg hunt that she was so excited to go to that evening. She knows I would have gone with her, because those were the kinds of things that we did when I was home. Fun, random activities like running from geese in the middle of the park or garage sailing on summer Thursdays. I miss my mom. She was 19 when she had me, and now I recognize as an adult that we were two kids growing up together. We were constantly learning from each other and confiding about the hardships of life. He had no consideration for her life or her children, the children that he knew meant the world to her, and he still took her from them. If he couldn't have her, no one could. My mother's life was not his to take. He had no right. He did not own her. Yet he chose to kill her. From the moment he stepped into that room, he had his plan. And at any moment, he could have changed his mind. He chose not to. He chose to commit to this decision. He chose to make sure he succeeded. He chose to not save her from his own cruelty. He didn't stop. There was never an intention of stopping. Even after it had gone too far, he showed no attempt to resuscitate her, no attempt to call the police. He could have chosen to save her, and he didn't. He took what wasn't his to take and then tried to escape the consequences. Your Honor, I ask that we ensure this monster has no more choice, as he must bear the consequences of the choices he's already taken, the choices he's already made for my mother. I ask that he never be trusted again. I ask that no individual outside of prison is ever subjugated to his unpredictable temperament, and that no one ever has to feel the insurmountable emptiness and dread that now lives inside of me. I beg you, if not life in prison, then to please give him a minimum of 30 years. She was the hearth of our home, the home at which I can now barely stand in without an immense chill of loneliness hanging over me. This is the closest we can get to justice.
Thank you.
Deb and I are 2 years apart. We grew up together as sisters at my grandparents' house. I always looked up to her. I have great memories of making paper boat rain, playing hours of basketball, Barbies, Atari, card games, riding bikes. I want to make perfectly clear, this animal took a mother, a wife, an only daughter from her father, a niece, cousin, and my sister, and friend to so many. She loves her girls with a fierce passion. Who do you think you are to take that away? I want you to rot, Brian. If I had the chance, I would strap your ass in that chair myself and pull the lever. I wished for your death since April 12th. You do not deserve to see your kids or even speak to them, but I'm sure they're embarrassed by you by now. You are nothing but a loser, and I just cannot wait for you to get in prison, where I hear they don't like men like you. I hope you have to see her every time you close your eyes, and she haunts you every day of your life.
Donald Moore, Debbie's father. You are a sick, evil person. You are going to rot in prison all your life. And I hope you live to be 100 years old. It is impossible to explain to this court how much hurt you have caused to my family, to friends, and me. I'm a walking zombie now. I'm lost. I'm empty. I fight every day to get up and go to the bathroom. I don't want to do nothing. I sleep 16 hours a day. He took my life too. You are going to hell on earth in prison. I hope you enjoy living with sick, evil murderers, rapists you should get along great with. You are the worst example for your children as a father figure. I'm glad you didn't die when you cut your wrist. I want you to suffer in prison. Enjoy your new home and your many boyfriends while you're in there. Honorable Judge, I beg you not to let him see daylight again. I ask you for the maximum sentence. He committed the worst crime just about on this planet. And his sorry means absolutely nothing. You love your kids, and you still did this to them. Your sorries and your love and all this, it's all meaningless. You're a nothing, nobody, loser, evil son of a bitch. And I also would like to ask if he can be put on lockdown 1 day or 2 times a year so he can lay in there and think about it.
Mr. Gretzky, on behalf of the state.
This court is very familiar with the facts of this case, been outlined at the change of plea by multiple people and in the PSR in detail. Whatever the nature of the conversation that precipitated the defendant's decision, he made a decision to kill the victim. The victim went down the hallway of the home to the bathroom, to the bedroom. The defendant waited in the kitchen, then came into the bedroom, followed her, strangled her first from behind till she went limp, and then strangled her with both of his bare hands until she died. This was a completely senseless crime. There's no reason, no rationale that can put what happened here into a lens that makes sense. Not one reason that has been given. Not the telling him that he couldn't go on a trip, not having an argument about the amount of time that he's able to spend with her, not financial strain, not familial obligations, not one of these factors puts this crime into a perspective that makes any sense. The victim, as has been stated, did not and could not have seen this coming. In the evidence, there were text messages, evidence of instances where the defendant and the victim had previously said to each other that the relationship was over. This was a strained relationship at times. There were texts where the defendant would tell the victim it was over, the victim would tell the defendant it was over, but they stayed together. So when the victim brought up issues about the relationship to him on that day, that was not a shock to him. There was nothing about bringing up those issues that would have led the victim to believe that she was in harm's way. There was nothing about the defendant's previous behaviors that could have led her to think that she was in the way of danger. She had no reason to think her life was in danger, yet the defendant had made a decision to kill her. I do not agree with the notion that this was a snap decision. Again, there was that time while the defendant was in the kitchen and the victim was in the bathroom and then the bedroom. There was so much time while he was attacking her. This murder was not committed with a gunshot or with a stab wound. One pull of a trigger, one stab. Those are actions that take a second, that can be lethal, that can be irrevocable in just a second. This murder was committed over numerous minutes. He strangled her in multiple positions for those minutes. The court is aware of the great number of strangulation cases that occur and the harm that occurs from them, even serious physical harm. But to cause death through strangulation takes time. A snap decision could have stopped his conduct, but the conduct itself was not a snap decision. He could have prevented her death if he had just stopped. But he continued, focused on his intention to kill her for all of those minutes. Finally, Your Honor, it has been said that this is out of character for the defendant. Character can be defined as one of the attributes or features that make up and distinguish an individual. Character can also be the aggregate of distinctive qualities of an individual. The defendant is not a young man. He's not susceptible to the impulsiveness of young men. Nor is he a man who has lived a life that doesn't understand the greater repercussions of one's actions on others or the compounding impact that death has. Taking responsibility and perhaps even regret may be in his character, but this senseless violence, this murder, is also his character. Capability of doing this has been mentioned. All are capable of doing this. He murdered her with his bare hands, but all do not do this. This is the defendant's character. It is one of the attributes he carries. It is part of the aggregate of the qualities that make up who he is. There's no amount of time, no amount of law-abiding years that negate such a violent, cruel act as the one that he committed, no matter at what point in life that act is committed. Therefore, the state is asking the court to sentence the defendant to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years.
Well, this court has reviewed the pre-sentence report and investigation. I have considered the victim impact statements that have been received by the court, read them all. Considered defendant's sentencing memorandum that was filed, letters on behalf of the defendant, I've read those as well. I have considered everything that's been said here in court today by Mr. Watson, the defendant himself, the prosecutor, and all the family members that are here and spoke on behalf of Ms. Moore. Consider the facts and circumstances of the offense involved, the nature of the offense, the nature of the conduct. All this is considered by this court in light of the purposes and principles of felony sentencing, which are set forth in 29 and 2911 of our Ohio Revised Code. As for the factors in 29-29-12, factors indicating the conduct is more or less serious, the court does note that the defendant's relationship with the victim facilitated the offense. This was someone he supposedly loved, was in a relationship with, lived with her, facilitated this offense. The victim herself obviously suffered serious physical harm, but in these types of cases, there's more than one victim. Family members are also victims. and they have suffered serious psychological harm as a result of the defendant's conduct, and that makes it more serious. Other relevant factors indicating it's more serious is the very nature of the conduct itself, the circumstances surrounding how this murder occurred. As the prosecutor alluded to, this is the first strangulation, suffocation case I've ever had. I've been doing this for 33 years, 34 years. Most murders involve a weapon, firearm. The prosecutor alluded to this as well. But those cases, it's horrible, obviously. I'm not trying to minimize those types of cases one bit. And using a firearm is certainly very serious. In fact, we have laws that make it more serious because firearms are used. But as the prosecutor said, those are split-second decisions that are made. You pull the trigger, you can't put the bullet back in the chain, you can't put the bullet back. This case, though, he engaged in the conduct and started, and he could have put it back. He could have pulled it back. He could have stopped at any time. This took a period of time in order for him to accomplish what he intended to accomplish. So some split-second decision where you lost your cool, whatever the case may be. In other cases, you stab someone, you pull the trigger, you can't do anything about it after that. You could have. You could have stopped. You could have stopped at multiple points. But you didn't. You kept on going. You kept on going until you accomplished your objective. And you did nothing. Did nothing after that in regards to her. You didn't call for help. You didn't call 911. Who knows what they could have done. But their intervention would have interfered with what your objective was, which was to kill her. And the nature in which you did it, and the circumstances surrounding it, make it more serious than what we normally deal with in these circumstances. No factors indicating the conduct is less serious than normal. As for recidivism factors, you're sorry, yes, you're sorry, and you accepted responsibility for committing the actual physical act that resulted in Miss Moore's death. In regards to your explanation, it's not very clear. You told multiple people when this happened that you did it because she broke up with you. But you made it abundantly clear to the probation department that she didn't break up with you. Well, why'd you do it? What led you to do this if it wasn't because she was ending the relationship? But you, for whatever reason, wouldn't acknowledge that to the probation department. You never offered an explanation to the probation department, so why'd you do it? You offered no explanation. In fact, you made it clear that it wasn't because she didn't break up with you, though you told everybody that day. Your ex-wife, when you were calling on the phone, when she showed up, you told our police officers. I think even someone at the hospital, maybe, if I'm remembering correctly. Maybe I'm wrong in that. But you won't admit to that now. As for factors indicating recidivism is less likely, the court does note the defendant doesn't have any prior history. I think he has got a misdemeanor conviction from 20 years ago, perhaps. That's it. And I will note that that's extremely rare. People that are sitting in that chair usually have a history. So he has led a law-abiding life, which is one of the factors I'm required to consider for a significant number of years, basically his entire life. This offense carries with it mandatory prison term. Prison is certainly consistent with the purposes and principles of sentencing. I'm not even able to consider community control sanctions, but then it's not amenable. Therefore, to be the sentence of this court that on count 1, a charge of aggravated murder, defendant serve a term of life in prison with parole eligibility after serving 30 full years of imprisonment. You get credit for 223 days you've already served. The rest of the indictment is hereby dismissed. In regards to the request from the victims to have them serve holiday, or not holidays, but anniversaries, whatever, I'm not allowed to do that. I have no authority to do that. I've done it before, quite frankly, and have been rejected and told I can't do it. So I'm not permitted to do that. You are to pay all costs incurred in this action. You are to register, as I told you initially, as a violent offender. In regards to the restitution requests, I have read all of those, and again, the law does not allow me to order restitution for the specific reasons that restitution was requested. These types of cases, I can order funeral bills or funeral expenses. That wasn't requested at all. The other items and reasons for restitution, I don't have the authority to do that. I think that covers everything for the record. Mr. Gretzky, is there anything else I've omitted or need to address?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Watson or Ms. Clapp?
No, Your Honor.